Yes. What's happening, everybody? It is Friday afternoon. We had the weigh-ins for UFC Vegas 75 just about an hour and a half ago. Everybody made weight. We're all ready to go. We lost two fights yesterday. We lost the Barcelos Johns fight, and we lost the Zhumagulov versus Bunis fight. So we are down to 12 now, and we got to find four legs to give us a greasy four-leg parlay this week. And we are 2 out of the last 3 on these greasy four-leggers. A couple of plus 700s cashed for us. And the one in between was actually 0 for 4. So it's if you're gonna hit miss a parlay, you might as well miss all the legs, I guess. But here we are, ready to try to make it 3 out of the last 4 weeks. Fired up to share this one with you. Let me get my banners up here, and also check out the Patreon. The best stats in the game. We've got the prop template for $20 a month. We've got the dynamic matchup templates here for $10 a month, which not only show all the stats that I've accumulated here, but also comparing them to the divisional benchmarks and determining how much above or below the average they are. And when they are above average, they're coded in green. When they're below average, they're coded in red. And when they're around average, they're coded in yellow. And they're just kind of gradually color tracked in between that red to green scale so that you can determine whether they're above or below average for each division that they're in, because I have divisional benchmarks for all 12 UFC divisions. So fantastic. If you're an analytical based gambler, you really want to check out this Patreon. And it's a great way to support my work so that I can continue doing free work here on YouTube. Thank you guys for checking in. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe so you don't miss out on any content here on the channel. And please consider joining the Patreon. And let's get into it. I'm going to share my screen with you guys today. And we've got the DraftKings screen up here. This one checked in around like plus 5 something on FanDuel. So it's definitely much better to do this one on DraftKings this week. And if you have any other books, check out where you can get the best price, because it's always about price when you're a long-term gambler. So leg 1 of this week's greasy 4-leg parlay, Valley Flow Striking, Chicago, Illinois, stand up. Your guy Carlos Hernandez is plus money versus somebody who's beaten pretzel vendors, Uber drivers, and factory workers in the Ukraine. This is a good spot for Carlos. I think it's a step down in competition from what he's seen recently. He's faced much better guys than Bondar. Bondar pulled out of 3 of his last 4 fights, coming off a nasty arm injury that he sustained in the Malcolm Gordon fight, and he's had to pull out of a couple of fights since then. He was kind of late to the scales today, but he looked pretty good on the scales. But I do like Carlos Hernandez to win this fight. I do think that Bondar might be a fraud. He's faced very low level of competition. So we're going to do for leg 1 at plus 105, the Carlos Hernandez money line. Leg number 2 is going to be the over 2.5 rounds for the Nicholas Dalby versus Muslim Salikhov fight. And this is a play on the durability of Nick Dalby. Let me blow this up for you guys here. Now, we see that the over 2.5 rounds here at minus 165 available on DraftKings Sportsbook. That's a 62% implied probability. Now, about 55% of welterweight fights do go over 2.5. So we're overpaying a bit based on the benchmark for the division. However, Nicholas Dalby has been over 2.5 rounds in all of his fights in the UFC that weren't called no contests. So he was finished by Jesse Ronson. But then when Jesse Ronson went for his drug test after the fight, it was determined that he was hopped up on goofballs. So that was called a no contest. It's a fight that, happened, and it did finish inside the distance, but for all practical purposes, it didn't. However, you would have lost the bet if you bet it that day, like a bet and over, for instance, because it wasn't determined until the drug test that the fight was determined a no contest and overturned. So all 9 fights for Nick Dalby have went to decision that weren't called no contests in the UFC. 100% decision rate. So he's never been finished in his professional career. and he's not winning he's not finishing anybody as well. So what I do see this fight stylistically, I see it happening on the fence. I see Dalby pushing the pace, kind of closing the distance here, making this a dirty, scrappy fight. And if I'm correct about that, I do think it cruises over. And Nicholas Dalby has proven to be one of the most durable guys in the division. The guy, there is no quit in him. I've talked about how Danes are tough. I've talked about how Danes are durable. It's the truth. And since Muslim Salikhov isn't much of a submission threat, I believe that would probably be the way we would see Nicholas Dalby finished if he were to be finished. But since since Salikhov's fights take place 85% of the time standing, I don't see this being much of a grappling match. Maybe a clinch, dirty boxing match, which Dalby probably would be favored in. But I do see this fight going the distance. And at minus 165, we're definitely not overpaying for this. And even the over 1.5 could be considered a good parlay piece too, as 89% of their 18 combined UFC fights between Salikhov and Dalby have went over 1.5 rounds, 89%, and you're paying about 76% on the line. So that would also be a good parlay piece. But in order to get some more value, we're going to go that minus 165 for the over 2.5. So we can go down here to the Dalby Salikhov fight, and we see the total right here, over 2.5, and minus 165 is going to be leg number 2. Leg number 3 is going to be the Christian Leroy Duncan money line at minus 145. If we go to the advanced stats here and we look at this matchup, one thing that I love here is Christian Leroy Duncan's 8-inch reach advantage. He constantly switches stances. He's going to be the taller guy. Armen Petrosyan's listed at 6'3". Duncan's listed at 6'2". I would be shocked if Armen Petrosyan was actually taller than Christian Leroy. I think Duncan's probably 2 inches taller than him. Even though Christian Duncan only has 2 less professional fights, he also had 22 amateur fights. I think Christian Duncan is better everywhere, to be honest. I mean, I even think that he is the better kickboxer. He's so unorthodox. He's so long. He switches stances constantly. It's going to be difficult for a technical guy like Petrosyan to get off because he is a volume guy. Petrosyan's a very good kickboxer, and his body attacks with his legs are fantastic. But Duncan can manage range so well. And he's so long. And if he doesn't like how it's going in the stand-up, I can see him getting this into the clinch, easily getting takedowns off of somebody like Armen Petrosyan, who's showing 18% takedown defense. I don't think there's anywhere the Christian Duncan isn't better than Armen Petrosyan, to be honest with you, other than professional strength of schedule. But then the 22 amateur fights for Christian Duncan actually make him the more experienced fighter. So, and he's 5 years younger. I like everything about Christian Duncan here. I think this dude is really going to be special. And I think that this is the last time that we're going to see him at a minus 145 for a while. I think he's going to show out. I think he's going to knock Armen Petrosyan out in the first round. So Christian Leroy Duncan, leg number 3 on the money line here. And we're going to go right down here to the minus 145. I also want to make a comment. The under 1.5 rounds for Nicholas Mota versus Manuel Torres is something that would have been here, but this line has went so far past what I would consider bettable. If we go to the prop template here, which is also available on my Patreon, you can see minus 165 now, and then the over is 140. At minus 165, we're overpaying by 30%, according to the benchmark almost. And we do see that all of their fights have went under 1.5 rounds. Manuel Torres has only been out of the first round once in his entire 14-fight professional career. So I do love the under 1.5. I bet it, but I bet it at minus 105. At minus 165. I just don't see there being a ton of value, but that is something that I think cashes. I think this cashes, and it probably should be in the parlay, but in my opinion, it's just gotten so overpriced that I'd rather get us more plus money by betting some equally likely likelihoods to turn out and actually cash here. So, I'm staying away from that one. Just wanted to let you know. because I think it's overpriced, but I also do think it does cash because the stylistic components of this matchup are both dudes have power. Both dudes have been finished in 100% of their losses. And one of these guys has only been out of the first round once in his career. So we really don't know what he's going to look like in the 6th minute of the fight, in the 7th minute of the fight. So, we're going to find out here. But the last leg is going to be what I consider to be a pretty safe leg here. And it is going to be something that we can use to hedge out should we cash the first 3 legs of this parlay. It's a safe way to play these parlays. But Vettori Cannonier fight to start round 4, yes, at minus 330. So if we go here up top on DraftKings, we go here to round props all the way on the right. And then we go to start round X. And we're going to scroll down here to Vettori versus Cannonier. Fight to start round 4, yes, at minus 330, brings this parlay to plus 624. Now, if we go to the prop template here for Vettori Cannonier, fight to start round 4, yes, is minus 330 now. And we're overpaying by about 30% according to the benchmark, but 7 of their 8 fights that have been scheduled for 5 rounds at the UFC level have started round 4. That's an 87.5% historical mark there. So we're actually getting a 10% break there when we compare that 87% mark to the implied probability of the line at 76.74%. And the fact is that about 46% of middleweight fights that are scheduled for 5 rounds do start round 4. So less than half of them. But when we see 87.5, it's telling us that stylistically, A, these guys aren't finishing fights, and B, they're not getting finished. The guy who probably might be finished in this fight is Cannonier, but Vettori's not a finisher. And on the flip side, Cannonier does have some serious power, great low leg kicks. For the division, especially, some good power at 185, but you could hit Vettori in the head with a brick and he's not going down. So I think stylistically, this fight does start round 4 almost all the time. I don't think we're overpaying at almost 77% implied probability. Very safe leg. And it also allows us to say, oh, well, if we just want to cash out, if we've hit those last 3 legs, now we can take the other side of that bet at fight starts round 4 at like plus 250 right now, which is plus 225. And we can just bet a unit on that and guarantee ourselves a profit if we do cash these first 3 legs. So here we go. Plus 624 on DraftKings Sportsbook. If we cash this one, that's 3 out of the last 4 greasy 4-leg parlays. So this would be fantastic to hit. And I'm really hoping that we do make it 3 out of the last 4 because I want to continue stacking cash tickets like flapjacks with you guys. So what's up with you guys in the chat right now? Let me see. We got Vitek in the room saying, "Oi, what up, Weezy?" We got my guy Rob Pagorni in the house saying, "Let's go, Unc. Stay hot, brother. Let's make it 3 out of 4, Rob. Let's make it 3 out of 4 and go out and get steaks, brother. That's what I'm looking for." We got Brandon Stelly saying, "Early to comment today." Oh, yes. What's up, Brennan? Good to see you hanging out in here with us. LJ saying, "Finally made it to one of Weezy's live." Oi, Weezy, he says. What's up, LJ? Thank you for hanging out with us today. Jester saying, "Let's get it, Unc." What's up, Jester? Thank you for hanging out with us. We got J. Cole MMA saying, "I heard the Uber driving he's facing have 5-star ratings." Yes, they're good. I mean, look, even the pretzel vendor that he beat twice by the name of Gennady Gitlin, probably one of the top pretzel vendors in all of the Ukraine. I mean, like they say that this guy can hold 200-300 pretzels at a time, and he can keep everything in his head. He can have like 2 pretzels going that way, 3 pretzels going that way. He's like throwing pretzels like 5, rows behind him, and they're passing up the cash to him. He's keeping it all straight in his head. But he's not good enough to beat Bondar in the cage. He might be the top pretzel vendor in all of Eastern Europe, for all we know. But what good does that do when you get in the cage against a professional cage fighter? It doesn't help you, So even the 5-star Uber drivers that he's shaving their asses, they're good at doing Uber, because driving in the Ukraine can be tricky. But getting in the cage and fighting a cage fight, is even trickier than negotiating the roads of the Ukraine. So I'm with you, J. Cole. I mean, they're good Uber drivers, but I think Carlos Hernandez is an even better fighter. So I love leg one. We got and I already bet it too. I got a money line bet on Carlos Hernandez this week. Antonio Esparza saying, "Yo, Unc, sorry that the Miles Johns fight was canceled, bro. Yeah, dude, it was Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week, and I am not going to give a new one, simply because I feel like I cashed it. Right? I think Miles Johns. My sources are telling me he heard he was made Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week, and he realized that he probably shouldn't show up for the fight. So I think it might be a fake injury, according to some of my sources. That once he heard he was going to be on the wrong end of the ass shaving of the week, that he just pulled out of the fight and said he just decided not to show up. So it's rough, but I'm counting it as a win, you guys. I'm counting it as a win. I'm going to see if they honor my Hani Barcelos money line ticket. I'm expecting them to do that. Weezy, do you watch bet on PFL and Bellator at all? No, never. I'll watch them whenever I get the chance to, but I don't bet on either one of them because I don't have stats on either one of them. And I kind of like to use that analytical approach to find benchmarks and things of that nature, and then watch tape. And with the amount of content that I do on the UFC every week, the quality of the UFC content would go down big time if I were to even start to attempt to cap those fights, watch tape on those fights. So I'll watch it if I get the chance to watch it live, but 100% of my effort towards content creation and betting goes towards the UFC because that's what I have in my database. Jester saying, hit that all Canadian parlay last week. Nice work, dude. And of course, that Greasy four-legger, we cashed on that like what, plus 750 or something like that. Just it was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And the ass shaving of the week comes through with flying colors, and our guy Charles Dubronx Oliveira. LPX saying, as always, thanks for the content. Sub to the Patreon. Appreciate you, my man. Your info has helped me start consistently avoiding many needless losses. Yeah, that's great. You know, and I'll tell you something, man, because it's not only just cashing the tickets, but it's also, learning that you don't have to bet every fight, and also learning, which ones to just stay away from in general, where, you say to yourself, yeah, I might cash this bet, but what happens if I lose? How am I going to feel about laying juice on this type of fighter? So yeah, I'm glad that I am a fairly conservative bettor. So I kind of feel like that's one of the things that people can learn from me is passing on bets that don't make sense, or where we're missing a ton of information and we're making assumptions that we shouldn't be making. So I appreciate you, LPX. Anybody that's out there on my Patreon, I really appreciate each and every one of you, because that's the support that allows me to be able to continue doing this. X Money in the room saying, "Oi, what's up, dude? We got Bob is in the room saying, nice, Weezy, good. I'm glad you like it, Bob. Let's cash 3 out of 4, man. It's good to see you hanging out in here." Green Bat in the room saying, in the beginning, there was a Greasy four-legger. And in this Greasy four-legger, there were stacks. You are damn right. Stacks on stacks on stacks. We got the stacks of records back here, too. My guy, Green Bat, a house music guy. Always good to see you hanging out in here. We got King Bicky in the room saying, I love it. Looking greasy. I'm looking to add Quinones to it. I like that, too, dude. I do think Quinones gets the job done here, but it's going to be a stiff test because Kyung Ho Kang is well-rounded. He's experienced. He's fought good competition, and I don't think there's a lot of weaknesses in his game, and he's a big bantamweight, too. So, but I do think that this Quinones could be special, and I loved what I saw out of him in the Taha fight. And if he takes that next step and he continues improving, I think he absolutely gets the job done here. XA Money saying, good day, Weezy. Good to see you in here, and a hearty oi to you, my man. Brandon Ortega saying, Unc, what's the prop on Almeida by knockout? He's so much bigger than Sabatini. Yeah, and Sabatini has a nasty habit of getting cracked. He is not durable on the feet. Pat Sabatini's control grappling is phenomenal, but his ability to take a punch is not quite UFC level. So that's why he has to sell out for the grappling so much. And I think that's exactly what he's going to do here. But I bet the finish only prop on Lucas Almeida at plus 110. And I also bet the KO prop on Lucas Almeida on FanDuel Sportsbook at plus 420. So I'm on both of those bets, Brandon. I'm actually picking Sabatini to win the fight, but I don't think he's going to finish Lucas. And so I've got these small bets, where if it does go to decision and Sabatini wins, I'll only lose a quarter unit. But if Lucas Almeida knocks this dude out, I'm going to win like 2 units. So I'm really looking forward to that fight. Tone Miggins, one of Pub Sports Radio's very own in the room, saying, let's go. What's up, Tone? Thank you for hanging out, man. We got XA Money saying, like, flapjacks, baby, let's get it. We got Dixon in the room saying, oi, how art thou prophet Weezy? You got any data on the Yoel Romero third round prop? Apparently he has 8 of them, and today it's odds of plus 4,500. Got to be worth a little baby sprinkle, no? Yeah, absolutely it is. You can't really kill Yoel Romero, so why not take a shot on that, man, to get that third round knockout? There's nothing wrong with a plus 4,500. It's such a small bet. We've seen it happen so many times in his career. So why not take that shot, man? Enjoy that fight, watch it, and just say, please get to round 3 so I can root for that knockout. And then every time he comes even close to clipping him, you're going to be flying out of your seat. So yeah, man, that I would absolutely take a shot at that. I'm heading to Caesars in a few hours, placing my first MMA bet, and it's going to be the Greasy 4-legger, baby. Matt Campbell, congratulations. Welcome to MMA gambling, my man, and there's no better way to get it started than with a win. And so hopefully I nail this one this week. I like these. I think this is a fairly safe one. If we lose this one because of the overs, it's going to be the first time Dalby gets finished. It's going to be the first time like Vettori gets finished. I don't mind it when it's, like a crazy thing that breaks your parlay, but I like Duncan quite a bit. I like Hernandez quite a bit. So hopefully this one gets it for us, and you cash that first bet at Caesars, my man. And then Brandon Ortega saying, I just think Lucas will last long enough to find the chin. Yeah, I agree with you, man. I mean, Sabatini's going to be taking him down. He's going to be trying to get to his back and choke him out, or maybe get a leg lock. He might go for a leg lock as well. Sabatini's really nasty with those leg locks. But, he might go for a submission. But, yeah, I really do think Almeida's live for a knockout. The guy's got crazy power, and he's finished 100% of his professional wins inside the distance. So he's never been finished. Got a 100% finish rate on his own. So I like the finish only prop, and I like the KO prop at 400 or better. You guys, I appreciate each and every one of you for hanging out. Let's cash 3 out of 4 of these Greasy 4-leggers in a row. Please hit that thumbs up on your way out. Hit that subscribe if you haven't already. And please consider joining the Patreon so that you could support my work, so that I continue showing up here to YouTube and giving out this free content to you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Good luck on all the fights. Let's stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC Vegas 75. Gia.